Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Shut Up and Read. Today I'll be doing my October book haul. This month has been crazy, so let's just get right into it. I'm not going to talk too much about each book because I don't want to spend here for an hour and just going into details, so I'm going to talk about them pretty briefly, or maybe not even because I suck. But yeah, let's just get right into the first book. So the first book that I got is actually from a publicity agent, and that is The Athena Protocol by Shamim Sarif. This came unsolicited, so I don't really know too much about this book other than the fact that it has something to do with a thriller and female operatives. So I'm assuming kind of like a James Bond kind of thing, but female. I mean, that's kind of what I'm imagining right now, but I like to go into thrillers and mysteries not knowing too much, so that's kind of all I want to know going in. The next book that I got is actually from a book trade, and that is Last Bus to Everland by Sophie Cameron. I believe this has something to do with Neverland, like Peter Pan, but a reimagining version of it. So I love Peter Pan growing up, so I'm definitely intrigued by this one. So this is another book trade that I did, and that is The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. Gosh, I definitely butcher names. I am so sorry. I feel like this book is pretty popular, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but all I know is that it's a thriller, mystery, suspense kind of novel, and that's all I want to know, guys. I like to go into these pretty blind. Then the next book that I got is one that I'm so excited because I actually really like this author, and this one actually did come unsolicited by the publisher, and that is Big Lies in a Small Town by Diane Chamberlain. And this one is an arc that comes out on January 14th, 2020. This is a story of beauty, friendship, betrayal, and a powerful connection that reaches across time in two women's lives. So this is a woman's fiction, and I feel like for the most part her writing is very reminiscent to me of Kristen Hanna. So if you like Kristen Hanna's books, I feel like you like her books as well. They're very similar in what they kind of go into in terms of the writing as well as the plot story itself. And this one does have a dual timeline, one from 2018 and one from 1940. Okay, then the next two books are one that I'm so excited for because I actually did request these from the publisher, and that is Beyond the Shadow Earth by Joanna Ruth Mayer, and this one comes out on January 14th, 2020. So this book, it talks about a woman, her name is Ida, and 9 years ago she made a deal with the god of mountains to rule half the world. But 9 years later, her hold on her empire is crumbling, and so betrayed and desperate, she goes off and seeks this god and take back her power. However, he's trapped in a labyrinth and she must fight her way through, and when she enters his realm, she realizes that she has bargained way more than she had anticipated. So this book just sounds really good, and I am psyched to pick this up as soon as possible. Okay, then the next book that I got from the same publisher is Night Spinner by Addie Thorley. This one is another arc that comes out on February 11th, 2020. I got this book mainly because I read her previous book, her debut novel, which is An Affair of Poison, which I absolutely adored. So when I saw that she had another book coming out, I was like, yes, I must have it. So it says back here that it's supposed to be The Hunchback of Notre Dame, but in a tundra-inspired epic fantasy story. So I don't know, but I really loved her first book, so I just have really high hopes. I mean, I feel like at this point she's one of those must-buy, must-read authors, so this is from her, and I loved her first book, so I am really excited for this one. Then the next book that I got is actually one that I purchased. I had credits on Amazon, so I decided to pick up Lady Rogue by Jen Bennett. I was so hesitant picking up this book because I believe she's written so many other contemporary romances, but I want to say this is her first fantasy-esque type of book. And the thing is, I haven't even read her contemporary romances, so I don't even know if they are any good for me. And the thing is, I also have like all of them. I want to say I have Alex Approximately and Starry Eyes, so 2 out of the 3 other contemporary romances that she has out, and I haven't read any of them, and here I am picking up her fantasy, I want to say debut. So what am I doing? I don't know, but I'm excited for this regardless. Then the next book that I got is also from a publisher, and that is The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. This one came unsolicited. Honestly, I don't really know too much about this book other than the fact that it's supposed to be a speculative thriller that is kind of reminiscent to The Handmaid's Tale and Lord of the Flies. So I'm pretty intrigued by this concept already. So the next book that I got is one that I purchased actually, and that is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This book, okay, so I have been actually eyeing this book for some time now. Originally I wanted to get it way back when, then I've heard some negative reviews, so I was like, I don't know if I'll pick this up. But then recently I've heard so many positive reviews again, so I was like, well, now I kind of want to pick this up. So here I am, finally made a decision for myself that I am going to pick up this book, which I did, clearly. So this one, I believe, is supposed to be an Own Voices fantasy novel, and it's supposed to be kind of reminiscent of Hong Kong gangster films, but a fantasy twist to it, because jade apparently is the lifeblood, and it's a stone that enhances a warrior's natural speed and strength. So I don't know, I'm just really excited for this one because I've heard, like I said already, some mixed reviews, but recently the mixed reviews have been more positive, so definitely intrigued. The next book that I got is actually from a publicity agency that I work very closely with every season, and that is The Bookish Prophecy by Elaine Adams. This is book 2 in the Witches of Orkney series. I haven't read the first one, but all I know about this one, it has something to do with witches and academies. So I want to say this is more geared toward middle grade, but it was technically a young adult book, but from what I've gathered so far, it seems more middle grade than young adult. So either way, I'm intrigued. Then the next book that I got, oof, I don't know where I got this from. I think I got this from a publisher, but it came unsolicited, and that is Been There, Marry That by Gigi Lavangi. I'm definitely butchering her name wrong. I am so sorry. And this is an arc that comes out in February 2020. I want to say this is a contemporary romance, and that's kind of all I know. Something to do with Hollywood and how one Hollywood wife want to take back her life. I don't know if that has some sort of like thriller suspense aspect to it, but from the cover it seems very contemporary romance, so I'm just gonna go with that. So the next book that I got is actually for my book of the month YA. So for those who don't know, I am an affiliate for book of the month YA, and if you use my link, which I'll include down below, I do get a little something from it if you sign up. And I believe if you use the code for this month, BFF5, I'm not really sure, I will include that somewhere up here, you get the first month for only $9.99. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely sign up using my link down below if you want to support me as well. So anyways, the book that I got for them in October is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. I do have a copy of this already. I got an ARC during BEA, but this is going to be about vampires set in New Orleans, and it's set in 1872. So I've heard so many good things about this book yet. It has been on my radar. I've been trying to pick it up. I was trying to do a dedicated reading vlog for it, but I haven't even gotten to reading it. So once I decide to pick this up, I definitely will do a reading vlog. At least that is my intention for now. I mean, things can change, but either way, I'm very, very, very excited for this book. Also, I don't know if I mentioned, but this book is supposed to be the book that brings back vampires. So there's definitely some high expectations going on with this book. All right, then the next 2 books that I got are ones I'm also really excited for because I did request these from the publisher, and that is The Seventh Son by Lainey Forbes. So there is a sentence right here that I think kind of summarizes this book pretty well. 6 royal daughters vie to become empress of the Chicom people in a competition only one will survive. And this is an arc that comes out in February 2020. Then the next book that I got from the same publisher is Master of Sorrows by Justin T. Call, and this is another arc that comes out in February 2020. So this is another fantasy novel that has to do with magical academies as well as magical artifacts, and clearly I feel like a lot of my books for this month have been a lot of academies, magical things in them, and this one definitely is similar to that, so this is definitely right up my alley. Then the next book that I got from a book trade, and that is A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Tollis. I feel like this is a book that I don't really have to talk too much about because this is a very well-known book. It came out maybe like 2 years ago or something like that, and I've been thinking about picking up for a while now, but I just couldn't justify myself paying for it. But since I got it for a book trade, I was like, thankfully I have it now. And all I know is that it's supposed to be like a really well done historical novel set in the 1920s and 1930s. So I don't know, but I have heard some amazing things about this book, so definitely excited. Then I got another book from a book trade, and that is A Hummingbird Dagger by Cindy Anstey. This book is a historical mystery novel set in the 1800s. It follows a young Lord James Ellerby when he gets into an accident, and he doesn't think twice about bringing the young girl involved back home to treat her for her injuries. What he doesn't realize is that when she wakes up, she has no memories of who she is, how she got there. Her only clue to her identity is a reoccurring nightmare about a hummingbird dripping blood from its steel beak. So now she needs to try to figure out the mystery behind her identity and the sinister circumstances that brought her to their doors. So there's definitely some sort of like suspense mystery aspect to it, which I'm really excited for. So this book definitely sounds really good. I feel like I haven't heard too much about this book, but ever since I saw the summary of this way back when, this has been on my radar. And the next book that I got came from like the most randomest place. I don't even know why I got it, but this came from the publisher, and that is The Little Book of Bob by James Bowen. Life lessons from a streetwise cat. And literally it's supposed to be just like things about from the cat's perspective, I want to say, and it's supposed to be kind of advice. I don't know, but this book just sounds like so like, I don't even know why I got this book, but it's about a cat, guys, so I can't complain too much about it. But look at this cover, guys. Look how adorable this cover is. And the next book that I got came unsolicited, once again from the publisher, and that is The Light Between Us by Angie Fukuda. This is supposed to be a historical fiction set in the World War II about pen pals from a Japanese American boy and a French Jewish girl as they fight to maintain hope in a time of war. So I don't know, but I really like my historical fiction, so this book definitely seems perfect for me. So the next book that I got came from my Bookstagram friend. Thank you so much for sending this to me, and that is Steel Tide by Natalie C. Parker. This is book 2 in the Seafire series. From what I remember from the first book, it talks about a women's only crew and something to do with some sort of quest or something like that. By the way though, I've heard good things, so definitely excited for it. Okay, then the next book that I got, I'm not really sure where I got this from, but it came unsolicited clearly, and that is The Mercies by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. This is an arc that comes out in February 11th, 2020. So this seems to be a historical fiction because it's set in the 1600s in Norway, and it's inspired, according to back here, by the real events of the Vardø storm and the 1621 witch trials. So I'm definitely intrigued by this because I feel like I've never really considered witch trials outside of America, so definitely curious about this for sure. Then the next book that I got is actually for a blog tour that I am participating in sometime later this year, I want to say. I don't remember exact date for it, but this book is This Is Not How It Ends by Rochelle B. Weinstein, and this is an arc that comes out on January 1st, 2020. So this is a contemporary romance. It really focuses on heartbreak and healing that asks the question, which takes more courage, holding on or letting go? But honestly, it's such a good question because I've always wondered, you know, what is true love? Like being able to let go because you want that person to be happy, or holding on because you love that person too much. So that's always a good question to ask. But yeah, so I guess this book will talk about that question a lot, which I am really excited for because that is such a good question. So excited for this one. The next book that I got, this book tour had asked me if I wanted to participate in a blind book date, and I was like, sure, why not? So I got paired with this book, and this is The Secret Life of Sarah Hollenbeck by Bethany Turner. I don't know anything about this book, but I do know that this book tour focuses on clean fiction, and I want to say this book has something to do with religion, specifically Christianity, and I feel like I haven't really read a book that really deals predominantly about religion. So I'm excited to see where this book will take me for sure, and see if I like it or not, because I got paired with this one, so hopefully it'll be good. The next book that I got came from a publisher. This is a requested one, and that is Song of the Crimson Flower by Julie C. Dow. So this book follows a girl, her name is Lan, who I guess decides to cruelly reject a guy called Bao, and I guess after that she regrets her decision. So one day, I'm not sure what happens, but she finds Bao's prize flute, and not knowing that an evil witch had actually trapped his soul into the flute, and the only way to break the spell is for him to find true love. So I just feel like this book is just perfect for me. It has a romance, it has some sort of like magical element to it, it's a fantasy, it's also Asian inspired, so sign me up for this one. I'm so excited. And this one doesn't come out until, well, it comes out sometime in November 2019. But the next book that I got from a publisher that I also requested is Sword of Fire by Catherine Kerr. So this book is a Celtic inspired fantasy where it has some rich mythology, which I absolutely adore. I love mythology, where it features a female protagonist who is advocating for cultural and institutional reforms on their society. So I feel like this is a really good blend of fantasy, magic, and politics, and I feel like usually I'm not the biggest fan of politics, but I feel like once I know going in that it's about politics, I usually enjoy it. So pretty excited for this one. And this one is an arc that doesn't come out until February 18th, 2020. Then the next book that I got from a book trade, and that is A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine. All I know about this book is that it's supposed to be a space opera, and that's all I know, and I'm excited for it. Honestly, this is definitely a cover pick for me, even though it's a book trade, but I saw the cover and I was like, wait, I wanted this book because of the cover, so here I am. And I feel like I haven't been reading that many sci-fi recently, especially this year. I feel like sci-fi has been very low, so hopefully I will pick this up soon and love it. Then I got another book from a book trade as well, and this is Light at the Bottom of the World by London Shaw. And this one is just so interesting because it's supposed to be a futuristic underwater London. How cool is that? So anyways, I saw this book, saw the cover, and I was like, underwater, futuristic London, sign me up. Okay, then the next two books that I got are actually from one of my book boxes. This is actually a dupe, the first one, and that is The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. But this one is a hardcover, a really nice hardcover. Like, look how beautiful this book is. And the other copy that I have is an ARC, so I definitely want to keep this one for sure. And this one is supposed to be a historical fiction talking about the Spanish War. And I've heard amazing things about this book so far. And I've heard amazing things about the author, period. And I haven't read any of her books yet, so I really want to read this one soon. The next book that I got in that book box is If Only I Could Tell You by Hannah Beckerman. This is a woman's fiction, and that's literally all I know about it. So it says over here, a secret between two sisters, a lifetime of lies unraveling. Can one broken family find their way back to one another? So this sounds like one of those redemption novels, pretty heartwarming, and I do tend to like books like that, so definitely intrigued. Then the next book that I got is also from a book trade, and that is The Blacksmith Queen by G.E. Aiken. Honestly, I don't really know too much at all, but I literally saw this cover and I was like, crown? Yes. And I'm assuming it has to do with fantasy. Honestly, that's literally all I know. But it says over here that it's supposed to be a Kensington paranormal romance. So I'm guessing there's some sort of paranormal element to it, but I'm not sure how or where that will show up. So either way, this cover is gorgeous and I am excited for it. The next book that I got came from the publisher. I did request this one, and this one is The Glass Magician by Caroline Stevermer. And this is an arc that comes out on April 2020. So this is like a super advanced arc, which I'm pretty excited for. So this one is a historical fantasy. It's set in the 1900s with the Vanderbilts, the Astors, and the Morgans. And it talks about magic, stage magic. So I just feel like this would be really, really good. It's about magicians, obviously, from the title of it. And this cover is gorgeous. So I'm pretty thrilled to have a copy of this book. Then the next book that I got actually came unsolicited by the publisher, and that is Storm from the East by Joanna Hathaway. This is a sequel to the Glass Alliance series or trilogy. I believe the first one is called Dark of the West. I haven't read it yet, but I do have it. So I've actually only heard one person talking about this, and that is Madison, and she really enjoyed it, I believe. So other than that though, I haven't really heard too much about the series in general, so I really don't know what to expect. But I just know that this will be a fantasy novel, and that's all I know about the series. Okay, then the next book that I got is actually a dupe because they sent me the hardcover and then they sent me the arc way back when, and that is Leopoka, The Tree of Ekroth by Kobe Bryant and Ivy Clare. Okay, this book is stunning. Like, first of all, look at this cover. It's like really pretty, and then look at the inside. It's literally the most colorful book I have ever seen, and it's supposed to be about an elite sports academy that somehow blends magic with it. And either way though, this book is stunning. Like, I think this is the third book where it's created by Kobe Bryant, and it kind of follows the whole timeline of sports and magic blending in together, or like sports and fantasy, and this is by far the most beautiful version yet. So I am so thrilled to get a copy of this. Then the next book that I got is actually one that I did request, and that is Upon a Burning Throne by Ashok K. Banker. This is book one of the Burnt Empire Saga series. Honestly, I wanted this book because it has gods, demigods, demon lords, sorceries, etc. It just sounds like a really fantastical book with all these different elements to it that I absolutely adore. And this book is also Asian inspired because this is an Indian fantasy, so I'm really excited for it because I feel like I haven't read that many fantasy books that is inspired by Indian culture. I feel like Indian culture is very lush, it's very big, and the fact that I haven't read a book that is focused on that is very disappointing for me. So I finally found a book that talks about that, and I am psyched for it. Then the next book that I requested from a publisher is The Chaos Function by Jack Skillingstead. So this is a book that I thought had a really important question, and it says over here, if technology enabled you to save the life of someone you love, would you do so, even if it doomed millions? So I think this is one of those questions where, is it better to sacrifice a few and save the many, or save the few and sacrifice the many? And I feel like a lot of people are at opposing odds with that question. So this book talks about that with a technology twist to it. So I definitely found that very intriguing. Alright, then the next two books and the last two books that I got are actually from publishers. I did request these two. And this is The Eighth Girl by Maxine Mei-Fung Chung. So this book is so interesting because it follows a girl, her name is Alexa Wu, who has her life together, except for the fact that she has multiple personalities, and for the most part she has been letting them kind of run her life. One day her best friend Ella somehow gets involved with the London's cruel underbelly, and she decides to go on a rescue mission, and there she'll discover whether her multiple personalities will either be her greatest assets or her deadliest obstacles. So I'm just so intrigued by this kind of like thriller aspect book with multiple personalities. I feel like this is just a topic that I am so fascinated by because I actually did a psych minor for college, and learning about this was one of the most intriguing things that I've ever learned about, and to find a book that talks about that with thrillers sounds freaking fantastic. So I am excited for it for sure. And there's a tagline that says, one woman, multiple personas, but which one is telling the truth? Doesn't that sound so good to you? And this is an arc that comes out on March 2020. So I'm finally at the last book, and that is Perfect Little Children by Sophie Hannah. And this is also an arc that comes out on February 2020. Okay, so this book just sounds so eerie because it's supposed to be about a woman. Her name is Beth, and she has an ex-best friend that she hasn't seen for a while now. I think it's been 12 years. And one day she somehow sees her for the first time, and she looks the same but a little older. But her two children, called Thomas and Emily, look exactly the same. It's been 12 years. They're definitely the two kids, but somehow they look exactly the same. No changes whatsoever. They're no taller, no older. How is it possible that they haven't grown up? So this book just sounds so eerie and kind of creepy, and I'm definitely excited for it. So anyways, those are all the books that I got in the month of October. It's a very big bunch of books. I'm so excited and so grateful for all the publishers who sent me the books, the publicity agency for sending the books, and the people who book traded with me as well. Let me know down below which book did you see on here that you're most excited for me to pick up soon, which book has definitely piqued your interest that you want to go pick up as well. But as always, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!